Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Haven Family Farm. It continues to be ridiculously rainy, and yesterday we got well over an inch of rain in a short amount of time on ground that is so saturated it just cannot absorb anything anymore. And occasionally when that happens, I have a washout or two or three or four or five on my driveway. Now that driveway, I had just put down some new 2RC modified and rolled it, so that shed the water pretty good. This section here though, the camera just does not pick up on how big of a ditch we have right here. That is every bit of 10 inches deep right through there. We got a huge pile of gravel that washed down from all the way up there. This section here along the edge, there's actually two pipes that run under here. So you can kind of see there's the smaller stones here and the larger stones here. So when we put the drainage pipe in, we put the bigger stone around it, just hoping that some of the water might be able to permeate down into the ditch next to the pipes. You can see here a whole bunch of messed up spots, but we have a culvert pipe here that comes underneath the road and brings us a lot of water from the other side of the road. You can see how the grass is smashed down here. So here's our two pipes, and they are partially blocked. So I need to clean those out obviously, but sometimes even with them not being blocked, we just get such a huge amount of water the pipes can't take it. So those two pipes, which are 6 inchers, they run all the way down around here. Here, we'll walk back down. Anyway, so while we're walking down here, today's video is going to be about repairing this part of the driveway that's all washed out. So that's what we're going to show you today. One way that you can do that if you have just a small piece of property and not a lot of equipment, we're going to show you an easy way to do it. So anyway, the pipes run down here and they run all the way down there, and then there's a big bank over there they deposit out there. I forget how many hundreds of feet it was from there all the way up that we put in years ago, and most times it works pretty well, but you know, occasionally they get blocked up. But this is all messed up all the way down to about there. So what we're going to use today, we have our compact tractor here. Now, if you didn't have, we're going to use a box blade or box scraper, however you want to, you know, people refer to them as different things. If you didn't have that, you could use your loader bucket to make this repair. But for, I got an echo here, so I'm going to move over here. But for a novice or a beginner that is trying to do some of this work, a bucket can be a little bit tricky to try and get things filled in and graded, especially when you have not a, I don't want to call it a level, but flat surface. So over here we kind of have a little bit of a ditch like swale type area going on all the way up to the top. So those areas can be tricky to grade and level with just a front end loader. So if you get yourself a box blade here, these work great for even dirt moving, doing the driveway, things like that. You can get the hang of it pretty good, and it's a pretty inexpensive way to be able to do a nice job on your property. So what we have here, this is a MK Martin box blade. It's a pretty heavy duty one. You can see there's a blade on the back side. Of course, we have all of our rippers going across here and a blade on the front side. So what that means is you can pull forward and you can scrape backwards. So just talking briefly about these box blades, there's a couple different adjustments that you can make here that you need to be aware of. So the first one we'll talk about is your adjustment this way, whether you want the box blade going this way, or level. So if you need to cut a ditch or you're working in an area that has a grade, most tractors have an adjustment on the 3-point arms. This one has it on this side. I put a zip tie here because sometimes those can move on you, but basically this is adjustable and you can adjust that either up or down, which will tilt your box blade up or down as well. So that gives you one adjustment. You know, like I said, if you need to cut a ditch or something, you can kind of angle it down and work on cutting. Or if you want to crown your driveway, that's one way that you can kind of work on it. So that's one adjustment. The other adjustment that you need to be aware of is the adjustment this way for the top of your box blade. So having these adjustments done correctly goes a long way into being able to do a nice job easily. You know, you're not renting a bulldozer or crazy things. You can do all this, you know, fixing driveways, doing driveways, grading around your house, ditches, all kinds of things with these. You just have to know how to do the adjustments. And for a beginner, that's just something you have to play with a little bit. It may take a little time for you to get used to it, but anyway, so that's what we're going to do here today. We're going to work on fixing this driveway using this box blade. Okay, so since all the material washed down the hill, we got to scrape it back up the hill. So we're starting down towards the bottom here. So we got our scraper here. We're going to drop her down, and sorry, trying to drive the film. So let's pull forward and see what we're doing. All right. So we're starting to gather a little bit too much material. So what we're going to do is we're going to lengthen this, other way. We're going to make this longer, which is going to not make the blade of the box blade dig in so much. We don't need it to be digging in quite as much as it is. So we're going to lengthen this quite a bit. And now let's give it another try. Biggest ruts are right up in here, so I left the box blade full to hopefully kind of help fill some of this in. Down the bottom we go. Okay, pass number 2. I did lengthen that top link just a little bit more so it won't be so aggressive. The material's wet right now, so that affects how it goes through the blade. right, guys, there we go. Pretty much got everything filled back in. Needs to be rolled now. I won't bother showing that on video. But so when you're trying to pull material back up the hill and grade in divots and different things, you can go both directions. After you've pulled a lot of it up, it's okay if you leave some piles at the top side, and then after you do that a little bit, go ahead and you can turn around and bring some of the material back in. It's okay to go both directions. I did that just a little bit on the bottom, but I did not do the whole length that way on this driveway. And that is because we have two different materials here. You can see some of them kind of mixed in with each other. We've got number 3 stone, and we've got the driveway, the 2RC. And here's a good example of kind of a blend of them. And that'll roll in and be okay. But up there's a lot of the 3s where I had to put some of these kind of back from where they had washed out. Here was the big rut, and you can see right here we basically start with all 3s along this edge now. So I did not want to be pulling all of this bigger material, all these number 3 stones. I did not want them down there. So I did not take this area back and forth up here. I did it, like I said, a little bit down there, but that makes it a little bit more challenging. But overall, if your driveway is just the same material all the way through, it's not going to make any difference. You can kind of go back and forth a little bit, stagger your passes. You know, if you do one here and one here, and then you have a line, go back halfway between them and do it again. So, and then if there's spots that aren't getting filled in great, or maybe pulling a little too much material, you know, until you get used to using one of these, you can just stop a second, just lift your blade up just a tiny bit, and then proceed forward, and it'll help empty out some of the material maybe into a low spot. This again was a little harder than normal, and it, you know, I don't mean to make it sound difficult, but the material is very wet. So when it's soaking wet like this, sometimes it doesn't fall out of the box blade as nice as drier material would. So, you know, again, lifting that blade up just a little bit in a few spots, or as you get towards the end, you know, once you get it kind of graded up good, and if you have some stuff in your blade 15-20 feet from the end, just lift it up a little bit and it'll just kind of fan it right out for you. So anyway, I'm not a professional at the box blade. I don't use it a whole lot, but it is an interesting tool, a very versatile tool for somebody who owns some property and maybe just has a compact tractor, because again, using the loader can be very cumbersome and difficult when you don't know what you're doing. Some of this material, when you try and spread it out, you drive on it once, it packs it down, and then you have trouble back dragging it and things. So this box scraper here works pretty well for that. So anyway, end of the video here, guys. Hope you learned a little something. Questions, comments down below. Don't forget to hit subscribe, the bell icon, the thumbs up on your way out the door. And again, I hope this was helpful to you, and hope to see you on the next video.